All right, here we are. What up? It is Altitude Sports Radio 92.5's training camp recap. You would think I'd have my act together, but I don't have my act together. It's going to get together here in a second. It's Andy Lindahl. It's Coach Mike Sanford. What
How
up,
we doing?
boys? What's a good word? Coach, how was practice today?
Well, Andy actually had probably a better view and got really in depth with everything that was happening at practice. I thought it was a good practice,
Yeah.
full padded practice, not a light practice ahead of tomorrow's at least competitive matchup and tilt against the Packers. But it was a Stiddy day.
Stiddy.
Stiddy got the ones. He looked
Stiddy
good.
day.
Solid
Yeah.
day. Threw the ball a little bit around. He spread it around pretty well. But yeah, I thought it was just a good practice.
Andy, what'd you think today, buddy?
Yeah, you could tell they're kind of tired of this, which they better get used to it, because even though training camp ends at this week, that, I don't know how you feel the difference. I guess maybe less meeting time or whatever, but they still, what's funny is, so next week will be like their little taste of a normal week, right? And then you got 2 whole weeks till they play again. Oh, it just feels like forever. But yeah, you know what? Look, it was they kind of all are blending together a little bit. I did like how Sean Payton, taking the old attention to detail approach, really worked on the hard counts today down in team session, got on the defense. And again, that's where, Mike, I wish you were kind of down there. I was trying to figure out who he was talking to, but Payton didn't like someone. I was gathering was on the defensive line, but, they were doing goal line where they kind of walked through, but he got on someone in the middle, I thought. He didn't address anybody by name, but he basically said, and maybe you can add a little color to this. He basically said, look, if you guys are going to, I felt like it was a little bit, if you're going to cheat on our plays, then I'm going to start adding motion and I'm going to get you. So don't give this stuff away. Treat it like a real play, this, that, the other. And sure enough, they decided, all right, we'll run a little motion if this is how it's going to be. Is it just that point in camp where each side feels like the other side of the ball is cheating a little bit? Because every play is a sack, right? Everything's a sack. The defense doesn't feel like you ever get anything off, and I think the offense gets a little tired of another little note from that goal line session. Here's the pup. So if I have to go away, it's because he's chewing on a guitar he's not supposed to, DMac, and
we get it. We understand that.
But no, it was funny. You can add a little color to this too, Mike. At one point, Barton got upset. Cody Barton felt like Kroll ran faster than the agreed upon, because it was walk-through speed, right? And I thought for a second he was just kind of giving him a hard time, but he dog cussed. I guess we're on the internet now. He's like, that was bullshit. That wasn't the speed. That was bullshit. He said it 3 times, and I don't know, Kroll didn't respond to him, but that is the edge of, that's the area of camp we're in.
One of the areas that I know I heard Andy Lindahl talking both early when I was driving to join you back in the studio after practice for PhD.
Yes.
And then again on Kreckman and Lindahl. This secondary is a question mark. It is a question mark. And I think that probably lost in a lot of our attention being focused on Bo Nix, on Devon Vele, on the storylines of some of the really good rookie performances in this training camp. I have my concerns about the secondary outside of Patrick Surtain.
What parts of it?
I think corner opposite PS2.
Riley Moss or Damari Mathis.
Yeah, and to me, if those are your 2 options, Levi Wallace isn't back and healthy.
I guess not.
It's got to be Riley Moss.
Because Jaquan McMillan's going to be your slot corner, right?
He is. He's your nickel. Yeah, he's your starting nickel.
Yeah.
And then safety, PJ Locke, Brandon Jones just has not been healthy. And the $6.6 million per that they invested in Brandon Jones, you're hoping that you can build that synergy in the back end so you don't have a Miami Dolphins 70-point, type of performance out of the back end. JL Skinner, I love the physical attributes. Don't know. I'm not in the meeting room. I don't know exactly where he's at. Devin Key is a player that's inexperienced as a starter in the NFL. He's played a lot of special teams, but man, I just think even though the value of a safety isn't what it used to be or what it once was, I still think that the actual sleep well at night tangent, of a safety, it's a pretty important one.
All right, well, let me get a question. Why is this happening? Why is Justin Simmons an Atlanta Falcon when the money really wasn't that big? What happened there, guys? Why?
He's not a Sean Payton guy. It's that
Why
simple.
isn't he a Sean Payton guy?
He's just not his guy. He's just not his guy, man. I'm
Why?
confident. I'm 1,000% confident saying that. Because they're different personalities, man. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't think he was the heavy hitter that maybe Sean likes in his safeties because he's old school. He's an interception guy. He's a center fielder. And look, I get it. I get it as far as the paycheck goes. If 14, 15 million is a lot to pay to a safety, I think, in a lot of cases these days. But I think there's an old school mentality that the safety is a guy that's, one the guys that I love. Dennis Smith, Steve Atwater, Brian Dawkins, John Lynch, they prided themselves on taking your head off. They did. And the league's not that way anymore. I think you need a guy like Justin Simmons, DMac, because how many times has he picked off Patrick Mahomes? Now, he's never had any offense to support him, but he's always had at least like one pick a year against Mahomes. The guy gets people in the right spots. I don't think it was a coincidence last year that they gave up the 70 when Justin was hurt. And nobody was getting in the right spots. I talked about it with you today, DMac, on your show, where I will never forget Delarian Turner yelled, deciding I'm going to go screaming up on the crossing route that's shallow, leave my deep quarter that I'm in zone for, and Tyreek Hill runs right through it so Tua can throw him a touchdown. Kareem Jackson, I can hear him screaming in Denver, what the bleep are you doing? Why are you leave? First off, the underneath was covered by PS2. He's got it. Secondly, you don't leave the deep quarters against freaking Tyreek Hill, man. And I told you guys I had the conversation today about the motion. I know a guy out there, I won't go over all of it again. Catch DMac's podcast or mine on the show, but Mike can talk more about it. We should get more of his opinion. The motion will mess with people. The Chiefs are the king of it. The Dolphins did a lot of motion. And if you don't have experienced guys like Mike was talking about, and again, PS2, he knows what he's doing, but if he's on the left side, he ain't going to be able to yell to the right side. You need the defense communicating. Justin was part of that communication chain, and I just think they're going to miss him. But at the end of the day, you asked, why is Justin Simmons? I don't think Sean necessarily loved Justin, and I don't really think Justin loved playing for Sean. And my evidence is in his goodbye letter. He mentioned everybody going back to the Bowlins and did not mention Sean Payton.
Mike?
It's a huge loss. I think today it really sunk in the fact that he is there. There's no hope that he's going to end up being a Denver Bronco. There was yesterday. And seeing him in that, I'm going to call it like it is, a beautiful throwback Atlantic Falcons jersey. That thing's sweet. That's going to be a team that contends this year because they have a starting quarterback that is a vet and makes people around him better. And they have a good defense. They have a lot of good young talent. And so I do think Justin Simmons got ultimately what he wanted out of this, not from a financial standpoint, but certainly from a competitive standpoint. He's playing for a team that I think is kind of a dark horse to be in the picture in the NFC. I really do.
Well, speaking of culture, Vance Joseph was asked about that by Chris Tomlinson today about, and hey, man, it was pretty, Andy, we were covering it. It was pretty toxic when VJ was the head coach. So here's what VJ said.
I get it. It's been a long time since this team's been in the playoffs, but, things are being done right. Coach Payton's come in and he has changed the culture, so it's not the same team it was even last year. We're young, but it's a smart, tough, confident group, and our deal right now is just keep improving, and let the wins prove our words. Say less and do more. But we know what it is. I've been here half my life, so I know how important the Broncos, are to the city, and how important it is for us to win. So we get it. So our goal is to win, and that's most important.
Oh, we get it. It's a different team. Last year, you got rid of your captain, Justin Simmons. It's really
and Josie really Jewell. Let's not underestimate Jules.
We got rid of Simmons and Jewell. We got rid of those guys. Those guys sucked apparently. I guess I don't know. Was that the problem?
Jewell, the void by Josie Jewell to me isn't anywhere on the same planet. I really do like Cody Barton. I like his physical presence. I like his communication on the field. Even Andy talking about. He brings a level of juice and edge to that defense.
Oh, he and Singleton are kind of throwback nasty
I love
guys.
Them, man.
They're not looking to be friends with you on the football field.
No, I'm a fan of both those guys, and neither one of them are high profile type inside backers, and they play with an edge, play with a chip. I love it. But Justin Simmons, I was thinking about it when Vance Joseph was talking about it. Did VJ had him as the head coach?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
No, that's right.
And he
I'm
also,
gonna guess Simmons doesn't have great feelings about VJ. It's just a guess on my part.
I
don't
think
know.
that's an interesting dilemma there, because that VJ, who, I mean, frankly, guys, he could have been fired after the Dolphins game.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. Yep.
I was.
It wasn't much better. It wasn't much better the next week against Kansas City. I mean, it wasn't a 70 burger, but it wasn't great.
Nowhere on the same planet. Was the next week Kansas City, or was it Chicago?
Kansas City.
When was Chicago in that mix?
Before.
Okay, yeah, and that was a pretty ugly game defensively as
It
well.
was, but they won the game because
you had some takeaways in the second half that really helped cement the game. But I wonder, a guy like Vance Joseph that does have a fairly complex. I mean, he has a complex system with a lot of different moving parts, a lot of good pressure packages. Man, when you have that many moving parts with your front, you got to borrow from the back end. You got to communicate, when the picture does change with motion, as Andy talked about, and you got to have a safety that is a very, very big presence vocally to get people in the right spots. I like PJ Locke, the player. I really do. I do think PJ Locke has some levels of leadership and communication, and I've seen that at training camp. He's just not Justin Simmons. He doesn't bring the field credibility that Justin Simmons does. And so I think that I'm wondering if VJ's not sleeping well at night. You think about it. I mean, he's had Justin Simmons for a majority of his time, at least in the last 7 years, when he's been in a Denver Broncos polo on the sideline. So,
well, look, I'll ask you guys. We've seen a lot of practices. They've gotten some guys wide open, yet we've all talked about it. I don't think you have a top receiver in the league on. Like, again, you got a lot of guys that are pretty good. We've been talking about Troy Franklin's straight line speed and Mims, but guys are getting open. Now, some of that's great scheme by Sean Payton. That's what you hire him for. But that scheme, the way they get guys open, Coach, correct me if I'm wrong, is when you've got motion and guys get confused as to who they're handing off to and stuff like that. Like, Darren and I talked about, DMac and I talked about it while you were driving over, and you may have heard it. Like, I still go back to the other day. I feel like, man, the defense is doing pretty good. Then you're like, and I realize strip and score and all that, but they shouldn't have had 30 points. They should have had 23 points. It just felt like the Colts weren't doing much, and yet here you are in a game that was closer than it probably should have been.
No, I would agree with that. I think that this defense I think this entire football team, talking to Mike McGlinchey yesterday at his media availability, it really is built in the strength of both of these units, offense and defense, or in the front seven and the offensive line. And I think there are concerns on both sides of the ball outside of your core. Now, I do think it's better to be built well inside out than to be built well outside in. And I think that you can look at CU in 2023 as a team that was built outside in, and you can have a whole bunch of explosive plays. You can score a bunch of points, but at the end of the day, can you protect your quarterback? Can you run the football? And can you stop the run? Because that's how you win football games. And I do like the fact that this in this rebuild, the core is in the trenches. And I do think that bodes well for Bo Nix, a rookie quarterback, that he's at least got veteran offensive linemen that play together. But I do have my questions on the outside. And there are a lot of teams that do undress defenses with emotion. One thing I will say, Sean Payton's caught a lot of flack for not being, on this cutting edge of all the different motions that you see, the Shanahan offense and McVay offense, certainly McDaniels and Andy Reid. I've seen more motion this training camp. I've seen more. I think they're going to be utilizing, full speed running type. Marvin Mims' touchdown in the preseason game was on a full speed motion, and then an RPO and throwing an arrow route based off of how the box played out. So there's
a special guest. You ready?
Yeah.
Live from the backwoods of Arkansas, Scott Hastings.
What's he doing?
Hey.
Scott, what's going on, brother? Do you want to really be on the show?
Here, hold on. Let me.
I can send you an invite right now.
Let me try to pot him up.
Send me an
invite, and I'll get on my kids.
Hold on. I can do way better than that. Hold on a second. Oh shoot, what is Scott's?
Now I'm showing you what I'm watching
Oh,
on
I got
TV.
I got it. No, give him a second. Give him a second. I'll send it to him right now.
Okay.
Give me an invite and I'll
See, I
pop
can't
on.
hear him because
got
I
it.
don't have headphones in.
You got it.
Yeah,
Andy.
you're going to get an invite, dude. Join
Yep.
us on the invite.
Yep,
Join
I
us
just
on the
sent it to him.
invite. All
I
right,
just
he's
sent it to
going.
him. All right.
He's on
so
vacation. We probably shouldn't be bugging him. This guy, no, but you know what? That was interesting, Mike. You do think we're going to see more motion
I
than
do.
what we've seen in the past out of this thing?
I do. I'd say, I don't know, 40% of the snaps have had some form of motion, and backfield motions. You're seeing a lot of that more scat motion, which I think Jaleel McLaughlin, will be very dangerous. I mean, I think there's been a lot of throws to the backs out of the backfield, which is typical of a Sean Payton offense. Think about Kamara and what he did in the past game. But yeah, I think there's going to be, I think there were some offseason studies, and I don't think this is going to be roll out the exact same iteration of everything that Sean did, both in New Orleans and his first year in Denver. I think you're going to see a little bit more. I do.
what are you doing, Scott?
Well, I'm on my high school boys trip. Real fast. Hey, boys. Yo. Do you care what the Broncos do this year?
Oh, my God. Hey, tell them nice lake house.
Hey, my boy Rob said that he does hope that they beat the Raiders.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, by the way, you're really roughing it on your boys
Yeah.
trip. We can see.
Quite the cabin you got there, Scotty. My God.
No. Hey, I told Andy this the other day. Bobby, the guy in the red right there. Yeah, he calls it a lake house.
Yeah. Okay.
Here, I give you a tour of this beautiful thing. Got to look up over here.
Lake house.
Yeah.
Hey, little MTV Cribs as we go back here in the Bob's back room over here. This is where all the magic happens back in here. That's where all the magic happens.
Okay. All
Are
right.
you on the banks of
They have a big deck, by the way. Yeah.
A big
Oh,
deck?
yeah, we've
How
heard.
big is your deck? Yeah.
Hey, that's what they all say. Are you on the banks of Lake You Ain't Rich Enough, or what? What are you on? Where are you at?
What's the name of the lake? Beaver Lake. Beaver.
Oh, yeah. Big deck on the Beaver Lake? Of course. There it is. Is this Hastings after dark? It is dark. All right.
Look at that. Yeah,
Hey,
we're
let's
down
be
on
honest.
Beaver.
This
We're down
is
on
the
Beaver
radio
on-
DMac has always wanted to do. DMac has always wanted a little Howard Sternish, right? Huh?
Oh
Hey,
yeah,
that
that's what I want. That's what I want to do. Talk about penis size of guys in their 60s.
Hey,
They're
do you
Here
guys
we
perfect.
are.
want to watch the podcast? How they get on?
Hey, Scotty, you going to get out on the Beaver tomorrow or no?
Oh no! Listen, I dove deep into the Beaver this afternoon. I was wallowing in it for a couple hours. Me and the fellas out. He got a big pontoon boat.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, you on the lake. Oh, wow.
So wait, did you dive in or did you just skim the beaver?
Oh no, they were already on this big thing, floating around, drinking their beer.
Yeah.
So I deal, jump in, splash the water all over them.
Okay. All right, Scotty, I feel like we should let you go and get back to the beaver.
Yeah, go splash in the beaver.
Yeah.
Everybody needs some good beaver time, man. I understand it. Get away, get some beaver in. Everything's
Sure,
good.
sure.
Life's good.
It's sober Scott with 4 drunk cans. Here's Dan and Rob, and they're arguing Democrat Republican.
Oh, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
That's great.
Yeah. All right.
Way to ruin the trip.
Well, that's why I want to talk with you guys.
You'd rather hear us evaluate yards per attempt than talk about.
I got something for Scott. I got one thing, and we'll let you go. I got one thing. I call it "Did you know this trivia?" I'm gonna play something, and it's gonna be "Did you know this trivia?" This is offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi.
Memories, but in some ways that was kind of in the past. So, you probably always have a spot for the Packers in your heart as a fan, but. I probably wouldn't have thought about it until you asked me. When you go to Lambeau Field and you see your grandpa's name up there, you're like, oh, that's cool. And then it's on to business. Sure thing.
Hey, who's he talking about there, Coach? I'll start with you.
Vince Lombardi.
That's right. Did you guys all know that Vince Lombardi is Joe Lombardi's grandfather?
I did.
Yeah, that's kind
It's
of cool.
been fairly well reported. I would have thought he's related to Vic if I hadn't heard that.
I got a little trivia question.
Yeah.
Why would you sponsor a shirt on a podcast that they're making you pay for the bike?
I know. Well, I got it. I was foster caring it, but now we've adopted it. So
That's nice of you.
but all the payments haven't been made yet, Scott. So we'll see how things
There's
go.
time, is what he's saying.
There might be time. You never know.
Early in the year.
Yeah,
How much
we're
does a
still.
bike like that run, DMac?
The bike I have is about off the floor without any bells and whistles is around 4,500.
Yeah, it's about a season full of podcasts, basically, Mike.
Well, at this rate, I'm gonna have to go for 150 years to pay off that bike.
Yeah.
Hey,
All right, Scotty. Yeah.
I gotta say, well, my while I'm down here with my high school boys,
Yeah.
Ellie took a spill today and got her worst stitches, except they're not stitches. Playing soccer with the boys, went to chase a ball with a guy, boom, collision, slip, fell, hit her head on the side of the curb. Got 3 staples in the back of her head.
Oh,
So,
whoa,
yeah.
scary. Is she all right?
Yeah, they gave her some Valium, so I got to see what my 10-year-old will look like if she ever becomes a stoner.
Okay.
Yeah, go to Julia's stories. It's quite gnarly. It's a heck of a trail of blood. I'll just put it that way.
Well, it's a head wound. She's bleeding.
Ooh, I'm sorry to hear that. Are you considering having her wear a guardian cap the rest of her time playing youth soccer?
No.
He is now.
No.
Big hat.
No.
All right,
I didn't know who was that in the background. I didn't know that Sean Payton was there asking, "What's the question?" I just heard of what's the question.
That's my fighter pilot guy. He flew jets and he's a pilot, so he's he's the anal guy. That's why we don't let him get on the deck too often.
Wow, we've got beaver. We've talked about anal. We've really covered it all, man. We've hit the 6-year-old boys trip bingo card.
all right, Scotty, we'll let you go, buddy. We love you.
And I'll let me go, but I got to show you what the boys are doing out on the deck on
all right,
Lake Beaver.
All right.
It's dark out there. You're gonna pop a light on. There we go.
The big cigars have just come out. Boys.
There you go. That sounds good. Get the cigars going.
All right, boys. I'm glad I got to check in with y'all.
We're glad.
Tap time.
You know what we used to call this no time rating? This little 5 minutes was a spike in ratings. So just bang.
Positive it was.
Tap time.
We'll see you later, Scotty.
You can't hear
Take it easy. Scotty things.
Tap time. Tap time.
Yeah. Let's hope not.
Okay. All right. Let me get to
problems going on out there.
In terms of the practice today, we'll hear about the kickoffs here in 1 second. But let's
They
get
did
a little
lot, didn't you think? Did you, DMac?
Yes.
They must have done 4 periods on kickoff. One time they came over, they focused solely right and then solely left. I don't know if it was coverage
hold on,
or blocking.
forget it. You're fascinated by it. I'll get to it right now with Ben Kotwika.
Yeah.
Yeah, we find it right now interesting. It's intriguing. It's interesting. It's concerning, right? Because there's a lot of things that are going on with it. I would just suggest to you that it's a point in the right direction. I think the numbers would tell you that last year there was an 80% touchback rate, and in week 1 of the preseason there was an 80% return rate. Now, that'll vary as we move along the season, but I think, again, meeting the demands of increased returns, reducing the long run high speed collision. I think that was a thumbs up all around. So yes, we're continuing to paint this canvas, and that just never stops. It just never stops.
What happens tomorrow?
What do you guys think of the kick? What did you see today? What do you think of it overall?
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be a run play like Mike's been talking about. I think they're trying to get some of those set up. I still think Mims factors in. I think McLaughlin factors in. I'll be curious if Franklin at some point doesn't factor in. But did you guys watch? I know Mike did. Mike, did you see the return in the Patriots game?
I did.
Patriots got their final score set up by a nice long run.
Yeah, it was. It's an exciting play now. And what happened on the Patriots kickoff return? It was that backside cutback that very similar to what Jalen Virgil hit. Man, you got to squeeze and constrict those holes. I mean, that's the bottom line. Like if you're on the kickoff coverage unit, you've got to hold your ground. You got to mirror the direction the returner goes, and you got to make sure that you're in sync in line, because I'll tell you what, man, if those chasms get big, I mean, there's big plays to be had. And you heard Kalwika talk about it. It's concerning. That was his quote. It's concerning.
Yeah, I like it. It's a play. It's not boring. It's something interesting. There'll be crazy stuff that happens because of it. So good. It's not perfect with the whole declare the onside kick fourth quarter thing, but listen, man, it's better than it was, and at least it's something interesting top to bottom. It's so much better. More than 80% of kickoffs last year just went through the end zone and were boring. So it's something interesting could happen, and other than that, it just gets taken off to the 25-yard line. So whatever. I like it.
One thing that I didn't, I mean, they keep talking about what is it, the catch zone or the
yeah.
So they draw the line when you watch all these broadcasts. They draw the line from goal line out to the 20 and basically everything sideline to sideline. You can return in the end zone.
You can,
like the returner can choose. They can opt to return it from the end zone.
They can.
So it's not an automatic touchback if it gets in the end zone.
But if it goes in the end, but see, that's a college thing. Remember last year, you could still bring it out in the NFL if you wanted to. What I think, though, if you kick it straight into the end zone and they down it, it goes to the 40. Something takes it to the 40.
I think it goes to the 30.
Is it the 30?
And here's why I say that, because Sean Payton was making the argument it should be more punitive, 35 or 40. Agreed. He felt like he says if we're just seeing that the ball's returned to the 30 anyway, we're just going to kick it through the end zone, or if it goes past the 30. This was, a couple weeks ago. So I believe it's the 30. So
you're kind of touching the hot stove, when you do kick it into the end zone, obviously. I mean, it's not very punitive, but is the decision for the returner, if you're 1 yard deep in the end zone, is it worth it? Like the analytics of it, is it worth it to bring it out? Because now,
you'd have to take it to the 30. You'd have to take it to the 31 to be worth it.
Correct.
And you would risk
28.
You would literally risk the health of 9 guys because there's another guy taking it back there with you. Every team has 2 guys back there.
Right.
So you'd be risking the health of 9 guys. The only reason you would is, again, the old way it used to be. You're, desperate, man. Like, we gotta do something. Our offense sucks. We're down by 5. We got to do something here. Well, it's worth taking that chance.
With the preseason, with so many of these players that are the returners, they are almost all of them are vying for roster spots, right? These are all fringe roster spot guys.
Yeah.
And the amount of preseason games I've watched where the ball has been kicked into the end zone and they have actually chosen to bring it out, it's almost like, you know what? Coach told me not to bring it out. If it's in the end zone, I'm bringing it out.
I got to make the team.
I'm going to make this team.
Right. And and I was screaming about special teams earlier, Mike. It's a reason why I wouldn't let anybody who doesn't make $2 million touch the football, because they're too desperate. I don't want desperate guys touching the football when we can bring off the $120 million offense, my $50 million quarterback. I don't need, Joe barely made it to be determining the outcome for my organization. Spoke Canadian there for you. Meanwhile, in terms of the practice today, goal line practice, Joe Lombardi. Want to ask Coach Mike about this?
Yeah, it's the first time lining up in those formations and running those plays. So it's really alignment, assignment, getting to your landmarks, running backs having the right tracks, understanding where the ball's hitting. It's a tough thing because it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to practice at practice tempo. Sean said it. You're either live or you're trotting. You can't just go thud tempo because it's just not how that part of the game is played. And so it's just, making sure that, they hear the calls, know how to line up, know what their assignment is, and, not a lot more to it.
All right. What did you think of the goal line?
Yeah, I didn't realize that today was the very first day of the install of goal line. And short yardage certainly been installed, which is out in the open field. I found it interesting that, the Broncos are now, 3.5 weeks into training camp?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a bit of an identity of a training camp, typically, from what I understand, having not been to a ton of training camp practices in the NFL, is they do have a live goal line short yardage period, tackle to the ground. So, interesting that today was the first day. That's all. That's my biggest observation. And then one other thing, Andy, you watch this. You watch the hard count. They did a lot of their hard count kind of walk through, talking through all the different scenarios of hard count inside the 5-yard line offensively going into score. which I found very rare. Like there's no value of hard counting, obviously, on an offensive standpoint. If it's first and goal from the 3, you gain a yard and a half on the plus side, which isn't very much, and you potentially are now first and goal from the 8, which is not good. So I don't know if it was just arbitrary where they lined the ball up, and they were just working on the hard count mechanism. But I did find that interesting. What do you think about that, Andy?
Well, again, what was cool, and again, DMac and I talked about this during your trip over. Sean Payton was very loud today. We could all hear the coaching.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was getting coached a little bit. So what they did, from what I could glean from what Sean was saying, I won't say it was perfect, but I caught most of it. He was basically getting on his offense. Do not jump and cost me 5 yards here. We're in the money zone. So he had Stidham. Stidham did like a 3 count before they did it, right? So I don't know. I think part of it was to keep the defense disciplined. Don't give him another free down. You know what I mean? Don't give him a free down there, period. But he also didn't want his offense moving them back out of that zone, right? Because they were at the 3-yard line. So I think some of that was going in. I don't know. I didn't get there. I usually aim for 10:30. And we had a little more traffic than I expected on the right end. So I heard him talking on the radio with Kim Becker and Demps. The actual goal line, I think, that went down early in practice, I didn't necessarily get to see that. As far as what goal line used to be, Mike, goal line used to be the way Shanahan did it was the players would always get after 2 weeks of camp, he'd give them a Sunday off. And the Saturday before the player day off is when they would go live, real goal line. It was offense, defense, snot globbers, the whole deal, frothing at the mouth. It was really the most live period you'd see for about 10 minutes in camp. I didn't see any of that today. I've yet to see any of that real. They did some pretty physical running today in the middle of the field.
Everybody's staying up. There's nobody.
Yeah,
again,
back in the day, it was look. You knew what linebacker. Nobody wanted to go Al Wilson's way. That's how you knew Al Wilson was a bad man because he got drafted before I got in the media. But then, my first camp was in 2000. Nobody wanted to go near Al Wilson. I'll give Clinton Portis credit. One camp, Al Wilson was screaming at Clinton Portis. Matter of fact, he found a bird feather, like a long black crow feather, and shoved it in one of the holes of Clinton when he was a rookie. And so he could find him. He goes, I could see you 2-6. I could see you wherever you go because of that feather. And there was one time where, where you just know you're not built to play this game. Al Wilson's on the other side of the line, frothed up like Mike Singletary, going, "You're coming at me, 2-6. You ain't got a fucking choice. It's this fucking hole. We're finding out now. You ain't kidding." He's yelling the whole snap count. And you know what? Clinton didn't shy away, man. Clinton went right out there, and a collision happened, but that's how I think Clinton won the respect of the guys. But, dude, Al Wilson was different out there now. There was a time, my favorite story from our buddy Jeb Putz here, I'll make it quick, D-Mac. We were in Houston doing the joint practices, okay? And this is where joint practices can go wrong. So we're in Houston. I talked to Jeb after the practice, and it was Dom Capers' team, right? And so Shanahan thought we'd had the agreement because the Shanahan guys was never go to the ground. It was thud up. You can get a good hit in and wrap, but never take my guy to the ground and risk a leg injury. And all I know, Jeb tells the story great. He goes, Jeb said they were doing their offensive stuff. They heard a hit, and so a couple of the guys turned around to see what was going on in the other field, and all they heard was Al Wilson go, "Is that how it is? Is that what we're changing to? Fuck yeah." And he said they saw all 3 linebackers strap their helmets up. 2 Texans got taken off the field after that happened. So that's what can go wrong in a joint practice.
I
loved Al Wilson. Like I said, Cody Barton had a little bit of that going on today. Yeah. But Al Wilson, not that we're here to do the show on this, Al Wilson needs his name in that ring of fame somewhere.
Yeah, well, he had lawsuits against the Broncos and health things, and that's
new ownership group. How about we go back and watch the tapes? Dude, the guy broke his neck. He broke his neck against Seattle, and because they needed him against San Francisco in 2008, he showed up, or 2006 or whatever Cutler's rookie year was, he showed up and played with what was technically a broken freaking neck.
Crazy.
So they could try to make the playoffs.
Crazy.
That dude was a man.
Hard transition here, and I have a great moment of Zen coming up. Stick around for that. Here's the fit for Sunday. Do you guys like it?
It's
I
the
don't like the
UTEP.
orange pants.
It looks like the UTEP Miners.
UTEP Miners. Yeah.
That
Andy?
colorway, UTEP all the way.
I
Andy?
just don't like the orange pants. I will tell you. So I was in San Diego, and it was San Diego. It's not me screwing it up like I always do. 2016, San Diego. Remember the game that Gary Kubiak had to miss because of the hard stuff, and Joe
Yes.
DeCamillis was the coach
Yep,
and all that?
Sure do.
It was a
Sure
Thursday
do.
night. Remember, we wore the color rushes for the first time, and it was all orange. And ever since then, I cannot do the orange pants anymore. I had O-linemen telling me I feel like a damn pumpkin. These things are terrible.
Right.
CJ Anderson was laughing about. I mean, dude, I can't do the orange pants. So,
all right. So, Mike, Andy, you say no. Mike, what do you say?
I just think it looks like UTEP. It looks like a group
Is that
of
good or
football
bad?
uniform. It's not good. I mean,
Okay.
UTEP guys, University of Texas El Paso.
I know.
I mean, you have a view of Juarez, from the stadium. It's a little different than National Football League team. And if you wanted to juxtapose it against what you're going to be seeing for the visiting team, it's not quite as clean of a look as the.
In general, I like the new uniforms.
Same.
Aside from the all orange, which is brutal, I think this is the next worst look.
Agreed.
In my opinion.
I actually like the all orange with the blue top or some blue helmet better than I like this one. I think this is the weakest. This is the weakest combination.
Yeah, not strong.
Did you guys say it's a sharper jersey live than what I expected?
I thought the unis on Sunday were great.
Right.
I thought it was a great look. I mean, it popped off the TV. I thought it looked awesome.
You know what's going to make that all white look really good is when they go full stormtroopers with the white helmet, white pants, white jersey. That's going to look sharp. I actually think the all navy would look sharp too.
I think almost anything but what we just saw would be better. So how's that? Boys, the NBA schedule came out. We appreciate everybody watching, over 2,000 people, which is freaking amazing for what we're doing night in, night out. Really, really good. And so we'll be back tomorrow night with technically, we'll see where this all goes, but technically it's supposed to be, I guess, the last one, which would feel a little silly at this point, but we just sort of had to see where things go. And
all right, season's done, boys.
We're good. right.
Yeah, we're done.
We'll see where it goes, but obviously
preseason week 2 is the end of the season.
Hopefully everybody enjoys
Hey,
this.
I'll jump on after the game with you Sunday if you want.
Well, I mean, we could just
I
lost
all my zest by the time 8:00 hit on Sunday. I had
that's
other
not a
problems.
problem.
I had other problems in my life by 8:00. But if you want to go after the game Sunday, I'll be here with you.
Well,
tomorrow, we expect tomorrow to be more we're going to learn a lot, I think, from tomorrow, right? Because LaFleur has already said he's not playing too many guys Sunday.
Tomorrow is going to be the best day, period, of the entire preseason and training camp. I do believe they were in full pads hitting today to get ready for tomorrow. And I think they'll pull back on Sunday. I think tomorrow, out of everything in the preseason, aside from tackling the quarterback, and I know there's not live tackling technically, but I think we'll learn a lot tomorrow, and we'll be able to watch it really close up. So I think tomorrow is actually the best day we're going to get. Period.
Who are you watching, though? Because I'll be honest with you, I'm really torn. Yeah, well, I kind of want to go see Jordan Love against his defense after what we talked about.
Okay, well.
No, I'm with you. I want to see Knicks, too. I wish it was kind of a game tomorrow. I wish we could go down the middle and just split the fields and turn to one side or the other.
That would be great. That would be amazing. I think if we get up on the hill, get up on the berm there, I think you're going to be all right, frankly. I think you're going to get a pretty good view of everything. But that's tomorrow. We'll be out in full force from the morning show on Altitude all the way through our show. And hopefully we'll have a bit of a roundtable, guys. That's what I'd like to do at noon, when things are kind of settled down. Just anybody from Altitude that's there, come on over, grab a headset. Let's go over everything we've seen in training camp. So that's sort of the goal. And we'll be back here tomorrow night at 8:00 by hook or by crook. And hopefully after the game too. And hopefully we just keep on going. But
remember, the jig is up after today.
Yeah, the jig is up.
By the way, the jig is a dance. Did you ever just look up the origins?
I knew that.
The jig is a dance.
Isn't the jig also like a tool, or I think there's something else with the jig? The jig.
Well, there's a jigsaw.
Well, there's also, isn't a jig have something to do with making cocktails too?
The jig is up meaning. I don't know why you just didn't look this up. It just means the scheme or deception is revealed or foiled. That comes from dictionary.com.
Yeah, did I not make that clear when Mike didn't know?
I was. So you got to understand when I asked the question on air today. I knew
because you never watched Scooby-Doo. DMac and I are older than you.
Yeah,
the jig was always up at the end of Scooby-Doo, and they said it.
I'm not a big fan of just knowing, like, I knew what Kay Adams was talking about. Like, I knew that she was alluding to the fact that this is some form of deception, or, we know what you're doing here. But I like the etymology. Like, what is the name behind, like, it's the reason behind the name of the jig is up. Like, where'd it come from? Nobody's explained that to me.
Who fucking cares? I mean, Jesus Christ. They think that hard about it, dude.
That's how I learned, DMac. I learned the root of something, and then I'm able to, use it.
It just means they're trying to say, again, I will go now to Merriam-Webster.com.
I know the definition.
Used to say that it's
he gets it. He gets it.
You're saying that I'm on to you. Stop it. It's not allowed anymore.
Hey, I was just trying to play you guys a funny video. Get the fuck out of here. You want me to play it for you or not?
No, not yet.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's do it. Why not?
Not yet.
Let's go to.
No, see, now Mike's mad. Mike wants to fight about the jig more.
Let's celebrate the NBA schedule coming out for
So you know what that was? That was a jig, an improvised dance performed with rapid footwork and a rigid torso.
I'm gonna play it.
Go.
I'm gonna play it one more time. Watch. Watch his wife's reaction. Watch his wife's reaction. She is the epitome of every embarrassed wife in America when her husband has had too much to drink. Watch.
Dude.
God.
You know what that is? You went to the future. That's them after they win the NBA Cup. Nicole is getting shirtless, and we're going downtown, baby.
I think that's Jokic's reaction when he realized he doesn't have to come to America anymore to play for the Nuggets. I think that's what that
he likes
right
Colorado. There. I don't know if he
likes.
Oh my God,
America. Dude! He's standing shirtless in Serbia, hammered on a chair, and he's 7 feet tall. He doesn't want to come back to Denver. I mean, he will and all, and he'll try hard, but give me a break. Parade. That's staying on parade.
Hey, if we win the NBA Cup, Mike's got to go do that dance downtown.
The actual, like, the cup, the in.
No, we need you shirtless doing it. We'll go to Joe Willie's on Broadway. We'll go to whatever other restaurant wants to sponsor, and you just got to dance like that. Huh?
I'll do that if Bo Nix completes a ball aired 30 yards down the field on Sunday. Dark.
It's a complete pass by Bo Nix. Oh, my God.
We could use that all day.
That's too funny. Well, there you go.
But tomorrow,
yeah.
I know it's an NFL joint practice. I know that I might have my
allegiances. Say it, allegiances,
if you will.
Yeah.
But if I took the Jordan Love part out of it, even the guys that I know on the coaching staff from the Packers completely out of it, it's pretty cool to have the Green Bay Packers coming to do a joint practice. I mean, this is arguably a top 5 brand in sport.
Oh my Lord, dude!
Dude,
who gives a crap?
True.
Wait till you get a load of this media core. That might be quite bountiful tomorrow.
What does that mean?
Well, I think
there's gonna be a lot of people there.
I think it might be the amount of cold brews and spotted cows that they consume. That's the bountiful, I think, a little bit. It is.
Will there be any tailgating?
You been to Lambeau?
I have not been to Lambeau. Andy probably has. I'm
no, there was the one.
Oh, is that right? Really?
I went last year for the first time.
I got fired the year before they went there.
Oh.
Andy was due.
Oh, sorry about that.
There's nothing like it. It is there is nothing in sport like going to game at Lambeau Field. I promise.
Did you wear a Lynn Dickey jersey?
I wore a Jordan Love jersey.
No. You need the Dickey behind the just Dickey.
There is one thing better than Lambeau Field. All right, guys. What's he doing? Dude's 7 feet tall and he's standing on a chair.
The only thing I know about
is none of you can see me.
The only thing I know about my friends from Wisconsin, I think that they can give the Serbians a run for their money with consumption at a wedding.
Oh, yeah.
I've
got a lot of friends from Wisconsin.
We'll find out tomorrow. All right, boys. We'll see you tomorrow. Full day. And thanks for watching Altitude Sports Radio 92.5's Training Camp Recap. Yeah.